Welcome to Archery Talk 101 podcast, your guide to better archery skills. We'll bring you the latest tips, tricks, and expert advice, but that's not all. We'll also have interviews with top archers and industry professionals and reviews of the latest gear and equipment and much more. Hey, today we're going to find out what it's like to shoot archery at a pretty high level and what it takes to get there. Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be your host today on Archery Talk 101. I have Lindsey on the line with us today. Can't talk too well, but we're going to talk to her about how she got started and what she's doing in archery and where we're going to go from here. So welcome to the show, Lindsey.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always fun having archers on the podcast and talking. So let us know something about you and so audience gets to know you and
Yeah, I'm from Concord, New Hampshire. I'm 23. I've been shooting recurve for about nine years. I've taken the past couple months off after I graduated from college, but I still love archery and I love watching it, and I'm thinking about getting back into it.
now what did you take in college?
What's that?
What was your major in college?
Elementary education and special education.
Oh, well, you could take up archery in schools.
I've thought about it, but archery's not super popular where I'm from. I haven't really heard of like the NASP programs anywhere in my town, but I'd definitely be interested in potentially starting one or maybe looking more into it in my area.
Yeah, you might check with them and get that started. That's a lot of fun too. So, how did you get started in archery?
I started when I was 13. I used to be like an avid skier, snowboarder, and I ended up getting a pretty nasty concussion. So after that, I didn't want to ski anymore, but I still wanted to do something. And like my grandpa used to hunt, my dad used to hunt. They used to take classes locally. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try archery. So I started at like a little rec center in town and I fell in love with it.
Yeah, that's the sport that no matter what you can shoot. No matter what
Yeah.
your skill level or anything else, you can shoot and no matter what your handicap, that you can shoot.
Hmm.
So that's always nice that when you can pick up sport and enjoy it. And
Yeah.
so what have you done in archery so far?
I shot when I first started out, I shot recreationally and then I was introduced to JOAD. And so I did that all the way up through high school. And then I went out to college in Yankton, South Dakota and shot with the Mount Marty archery team. And then in high school, I think it was my freshman or sophomore year, I tried out for the regional dream team and I ended up getting on that team for the East Coast. And I just kept shooting. And then I went to Yankton and shot collegiately
Yeah, that's pretty. What made you go clear out the Yankton, South Dakota for college?
for the archery team.
Oh, for the archery team.
Yep.
I guess that's a good reason to go.
Yeah. But yeah, it
Yeah,
was good.
that's not a place that you think of to go to college is in
Yeah.
South Dakota, especially, in New Hampshire, you think of something locally
Yeah.
and but if you go out there for archery, that's definitely a fun sport to do while you're in school.
Yeah, it was really fun. I loved it.
So you shoot a lot of recurve. Now you said you
Yeah.
kind of took a break once you graduated from college, and then
Hmm.
you'll be picking it back up, one of these days because
Yeah.
you won't stay out very long. But so when you started at 13 until
Yeah.
you got to college,
Mhm.
um, what was your kind of journey in your archery from starting out from just shooting fun and then going on from there?
After I started JOAD, I got into competitions. I did like the local state shoots, the regional indoor national shoots. Eventually, as I kept shooting more and more and more, like I joined local leagues. We had league night. I was shooting JOAD twice a week. I had like a lesson with my coach. I started traveling to the outdoor nationals. I went to the ones in Alabama. I shot out in Florida to try out for the RDT. I shot some of the NFAA, like bigger events, outdoor nationals, indoor nationals, the Dakota Classic. And then once I got to college, started shooting Lancaster. Vegas was my first time, my freshman year, and then collegiate nationals. And I just tried to shoot as many competitions as I could. I absolutely loved traveling to shoot. That's like my favorite thing I did.
Yeah, I know in your profile you have a lot of pictures of the Vegas shoot.
Yes,
Sounds like a lot of fun. Tell us about that shoot, because that looks like
it
that's kind of a fun one.
it's absolutely amazing. Like I've never really been to the West Coast until then, and I've never shot a tournament that big before. And thankfully, being out in Yankton, we're at the NFAA Center. And my freshman year, they gave us the opportunity to work for the NFAA as well. So we were helping, like putting the shooter bags together, setting up the targets, running the lines, um, setting out the tablets, running bow storage. So I got to work the NFAA shoot, work the Vegas shoot, and be able to shoot it at the same time. And it was like the coolest experience. And I did it my senior year as well. And we were able to volunteer and work for the Louisville shoot indoor national. So it was really cool to be able to see both sides of that competition. And just the culture out there is so different compared to the Midwest and the East Coast. And it was just really cool to see.
So what did you notice difference about the culture between the East and West Coast and the Midwest?
In the Midwest, everyone's a lot nicer. Like you can't meet a stranger out there. Yankton's a pretty small town out in the middle of nowhere, and I wasn't used to that. And a lot of my teammates and the people who live there locally, like they're all farmers. Everything's farms, and that's just what you do. And we
Yeah.
don't really have that. I'm kind of in the city, so we don't like farming's not a huge thing out here. And it was just amazing to me. Like all my teammates would go, they participated in FFA and they're like raising cattle and pigs and rabbits, and they go and show them, and they have all their farms in their yard. And it was just really different compared to what I was used to. But that was very interesting to see.
Yeah, we have a lot of farms here in the Midwest. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska, so we have
Oh
lots of
yeah,
cornfields
yeah,
and out in the sand hills close to Colorado, and
yeah,
it's kind of really bare. And then you move it going to Colorado, and it's still just kind of pretty bare. And you
yeah,
get closer to the mountains now, then it kind of changes. But
yeah.
everybody don't realize Colorado has a lot of flat, desolate ground that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of middle of nowhere.
Yeah, the
Everybody thinks
weather
that.
was a big one for me too. I've never experienced a blizzard or a tornado before because we don't really get those. We get nor'easters, which is like kind of like an ice storm, but it's nothing compared to blizzards out there. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, you're gonna get some snows up in up in Yankton. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember last year I flew home for Christmas break and I left my car at my roommate's house and they had a blizzard over our Christmas break and my roommate sends me a picture and all I can see is this much of the car because it's buried in snow and I was like that doesn't even seem real.
Yeah, I've been around here where we've had snow that buries cars, and you're going along and the plow's plowing it, and all of a sudden you run to the back of a car that was buried in the snow that they couldn't see.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's crazy.
but yeah, it's not quite as bad as it used to be, but we still get some pretty nasty storms out here. And if you're not used to it, that's something that's completely different. And then
Yeah.
shooting where you're at, how's the altitude different? Because that's going to be different.
Mm.
Have you noticed any effects from going to different places on how the altitude and humidity level changes
Yes, it
anything?
can get pretty humid out here and out west it's dry as a bone. So I'm like I feel different, my shots feel different. Like when I shoot down south, it is so humid and gross and like I could feel how much slower my shot process feels and like my limbs are looser, like it feels looser and I'm like it's not as smooth of a draw. It's definitely interesting to shoot in different areas.
Yeah, you shoot when it's cold and shoot when it's warm. Here in
Mhm.
Nebraska, our hunting season is during the winter, and
Yeah.
we could
Whew.
easily have snow on the ground. It could be snowing, it could be cold, it could be windy.
Mhm.
Um, and then you get cold and you get stiff, and then your bow's also stiff, and
Yeah.
so it gets a little tough. And then summertime, it gets so hot,
Yeah.
you're hot and sweaty, and everything's different. And yeah, it's a challenge sometimes to shoot the different
Hmm.
climates. Fortunately, when you shoot, you have a little bit of time to kind of get used to it. But
Hmm.
if it's a lot different, that can be really, really a challenge.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, the best part about shooting in the Midwest is how windy it is. I mean, it's awful during practice and it's like a pain in the neck to shoot. But then when you go to competitions where the wind's changing, it's a little bit different, you are well seasoned to a lot of high gusts of wind. So that's one thing I was really thankful for, even though I hated practicing in it.
Yeah, there's days that it's like there's no way I'd shoot the bow because I couldn't even hold it on the backstop. Got a
Yeah.
4 foot square backstop. It's like I don't think I can even stay on the backstop. Sometimes have 15, 20 mile an hour winds, and
Yeah.
you just don't shoot in that kind of wind.
Hmm.
But we seem to always have a wind around here. So
Yeah.
first thing in the morning it doesn't. It's really calm
Yeah.
first thing in the morning, but
Hmm.
you go out for that afternoon shoot and
Hmm.
you don't know what the wind's gonna be like. It warms up throughout the day. And
Yeah.
so what's been your most challenging shoot that you've been at?
Most challenging. I would say outdoor nationals. I've always struggled with outdoor season, whether it's rain, wind, the distance. Like once I got into the senior division where I have to shoot 70 meters and I'm pretty short. I don't have a long draw length, so my poundage was never super high and I always struggled with long distance. But I mean, shooting nationals down south, it was always hard because it was so hot, sticky, and my arrows felt like they weren't going where they should be. And then, like, we had collegiate nationals in California and Chula Vista, and that has tricky wind. But outdoors just always brought some sort of obstacle, I guess. And it's outdoors has never been my favorite, but it was always difficult to shoot.
Yeah, it's fun shooting outside though.
Yeah. Sometimes
It,
it's
it
fun, but when the in the extreme climates, it was always like, "Whew, let's get this get this
yeah,
done."
it's when it gets really extreme.
Yeah.
Now, I always like that. What's your most memorable shoot you was at?
I think my first year at Vegas, my freshman year of college, just being there for the first time, getting to shoot there, getting to work the event, and thankfully, Mount Marty was able to get second in collegiate teams that year, and I had the recurve score for our team. So just being able to go up in that big stage, hold the check with all my teammates, that was just an amazing experience.
Oh yeah, that would be kind of exciting that you had the top score in your division, and that's that's really good.
It was one for the books.
So what a lot of times they say, just kind of an overnight, just you just all of a sudden you paired overnight. Well, I know there's nothing overnight. There's a lot of work and dedication into it. But
Hmm.
what was kind of your typical practice schedule like, and then also how often did you practice?
I shot between 4 and 5 days a week. If we were getting closer to an event, I would shoot more. I would try to get 100 arrows a day, but that didn't always happen. Sometimes I would start off like half my practice blank bail, half my practice on target. Um, at school, we would have like little competitions with each other, or there'd be like a certain skill we're focusing on for the week, or a certain mental strategy we're focusing on. So kind of depended, but I'd usually shoot between 4 and 5 days a week.
Yeah, that's what you got to do to get to the next level. Yeah. So what's some of the other things that come to mind about the advantages of shooting a bow?
Um, Definitely teaches you patience and a very strong work ethic because you're not a lot of people think you're just gonna pick up a bow and like, oh, that's easy. I can hit the bullseye, no problem. But you just shoot and shoot and shoot, and you're not gonna get your you're not gonna reach your goal until you put the work in and the time in. So it's definitely kind of, you got to take a step back and say, okay, I got to figure out what I need to do, how I'm going to do it, how long it's going to take me, and it it teaches you how to take on certain obstacles and um, different things that come your way.
Yeah, it does. You've got to have a little dedication to get out there and shoot and go to the next level.
Yeah,
You know,
there have been
you
many
started out.
times when I get
Yeah,
goals. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But then, like, my teammates, my roommates are like, no, come on, let's keep going. Let's shoot 10 more, shoot 10 more, shoot 10 more. And then eventually I'll get to where I wanted to be. But yeah, there's been quite a few times where I almost hung it up, but I'm glad that I didn't.
yeah. There's just got to stick with it, and there's always challenges. And um, what was the biggest obstacle you had to come over in getting to the level that you got to?
mm, I kind of have two. My first one, I think it was my junior year of high school. I got another concussion, crazy enough, where it like it affected the way like my eyes were working with my brain. And at the beginning, I didn't realize I had a concussion until it started affecting my shooting. Like, I was shooting really, really good, and then all of a sudden, I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Like, I was going all over the place. I was hitting the wall, missing the target, and I was like, "What is going on?" And my coaches and I, like, they stripped apart my form, they stripped apart my equipment, and we could not figure it out. So I finally went to my neurologist, and he's like, "Yeah, you have a concussion." And for the longest time, I just wasn't getting better, and I was shooting worse and worse and worse, and I felt horrible. I was like, "Why aren't I shooting good? Like, what's going on?" So then I went to a doctor who specializes in vision therapy, and he specializes in competitive athletes, and he's never worked with an archer before, but I am so thankful I went to him. And like, we worked on all these different like exercises and training regimens for things like eye hand coordination and how my brain perceives certain things that I see, and we were able to incorporate my bow into it. And after that, I was finally able, he calls it like retraining your brain and how like your eyes work together with your brain. It's the craziest thing. But after that, I was finally able to get back on track.
Yeah, that's quite a bit to overcome.
Yeah, it took a long time. My whole senior year of high school, I worked on recovering, and then finally, after I went to college and I was shooting more and more and more, I was able to get back into my groove and finally improve.
Yeah, that's quite a bit, just something, for those that are listening or watching, if you have a problem like that, get a hold of the right person, the
Mhm.
right doctor, right coach,
Yeah.
help you through all that. And
Yes.
you just kind of imagine what happened if you just like, well, I can't do it and quit.
Yeah. I
And
am
it,
so thankful for my coaches, for my parents, for my doctors, for supporting me. Like, I still talk to my eye doctor today, and he's always asking me like how I'm doing. He was always keeping up on all the tournaments I went to. We were just able to create a really good relationship that still helps me shoot today.
that's good, because just think if you hadn't went through all that,
Yeah,
where would you be at now? You may still have that same problem
I know.
because
It's
you had a
crazy.
desire to overcome this problem and figured out what it was. And now, hopefully you're doing great with it now, but
Yeah.
that was quite a challenge. Yeah, I can't imagine where your eyes don't coordinate with what's going on and you just can't connect them together. And
Yeah, I was
that's
seeing 2 apertures on my sight, and I didn't even know it at the time, and I was like, "Oh, that explains a lot why I couldn't see," but it
yeah,
was crazy.
yeah. When you're seeing two sets of pins down there, it's not good. Um, I have because I had a surgery and I have a little bit of double vision,
Yeah,
and I see two sets of pins down there. A clear set from my right eye
yeah,
and a dim set from the left eye. Over the years,
yep,
my mind just ignored the dim set of pins.
yeah,
Well, as you get older, what forms on your eyes? Cataracts.
Yep.
So now, which is my clear eye? My left eye is my clear eye. My right eye is blurry. So what does my
Yeah.
mind pick up? The left eye pins. Yeah, and I missed when I was out hunting it, and I was like, oh, it made a really really bad shot. I hit an
Yeah.
artery in their rear hind quarter, but I still got the deer. But I'll go down to the range, and I normally always close my left eye when I'm down practicing.
Right.
Just because I'm just focused on just where I want the arrow to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I shot it, shooting at a 5 spot, and I shot the upper right hand target,
Mm-hmm.
opened up both eyes, shot the upper right hand target. I missed the target to completely missed the paper to the left.
Yep.
Like, what's
That's
going
exactly
on?
what was happening to me.
Yeah, because my eyes was picking up the wrong set of pins. So I closed
Yep.
my eye, right on, open up, and then I started figuring out, okay, it's because the right eye is a little blurry. So
Mm-hmm.
then I started, closing my out hunting. I'm kind of blinking the left eye to force my mind to pick up the right set of pins. And then one time I was out is I always wear a baseball cap, and then I had a hooded sweatshirt on one time and turned my head, and the hood blocked my left eye. Problem solved. Except in the summertime, I'm not wearing
Yeah.
a hooded sweatshirt.
Yeah. I had to wear these blue tinted glasses because it was like a not like a shield, but it just like my eyes would strain all the time. So like the blue tint kind of calmed them. And I didn't like I would shoot with both eyes open, but then I was having the issue where my eyes were switching and I couldn't tell when. And so I I had for the longest time I had to tape the left side of my glasses. So it was kind of fuzzy, so I couldn't see out of it. And so I would be able to see out of my right eye. But yeah, I kind of looked silly, but it helped me out, so I kept doing it.
Yeah, well, they do this sometimes on shotguns. They'll put a piece on there that blocks the left eye from seeing the front bead.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing, when you see that front sight, if you see two sets of them, which one you pick up? In my case, my mind picked up the clear set. I, I, don't-
Yeah.
I didn't even realize there were two sets anymore because I just kind of over the years, I just kind of ignored them. I didn't even
Yeah.
pay attention to them.
Hmm.
So when all of a sudden it switched, it's like, what's going on? And then you still don't see the pin. I still don't see my pins very clearly, so I don't make those long shots anymore.
Yeah.
Little hard to see. But yeah, that definitely a challenge. So what else would you kind of tell somebody that's kind of looking at getting into archery? What would you recommend for them?
Um, I would say you should really take it seriously, but enjoy it at the same time. Like a lot of people think it's easier than it looks easier than it is, so they're kind of not they don't know what they're getting into. But I mean, if you're serious about it, go ahead, buy that bow, sign up for the tournament you might be scared of. If you don't shoot good, yeah, it stinks, but you gain so much experience and so much confidence by just showing up there in the first place that it just helps you grow and grow and grow. But then again, archery is extremely frustrating and hard, but that's why it's also important to take time to enjoy it. Go to a fun shoot, go shoot with your buddies, go pop balloons, things like that. There, it's good to have a balance.
Yeah, like I said, you go to your first tournament and shoot the score. It doesn't really matter what you shoot. You go to the next one, you're only
Hmm.
competing against yourself. Did you do
Yep.
better?
Yep.
And the next one, did you do better than the last one? If you didn't do
Hmm.
it, what did you do right from the last time?
Hmm.
Don't focus on what you did wrong. Always
Hmm.
focus on what you did right.
Yep.
Don't focus
That'll
on
trip
if
you
you
up.
miss a target, who cares? Next
Yeah.
one. Okay, I shot this one perfect. So think about that perfect shot. And there's a lot of mental game in archery. And
Hmm.
you don't focus on anything else. I always like to use the example, what you focus on is what you're going to get.
Hmm.
So if you still say, well, don't miss, what are you going to do? You're going to miss.
You're gonna miss. Yep.
So if somebody says, well, don't fall down, there's a good
What
chance
are
you're
you
going to
gonna
fall
do?
down.
Yep.
So you got to kind of look at some of the different ways of saying stuff and just
Yeah.
ignore them.
You have to phrase
Don't
it
let them
in a
put it in your
positive
head.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was reading, I was listening to an Audible um, winning with the mind, or I
Oh,
forget.
with
It's
winning in mind?
yes, yes. You,
Yep.
you heard it. I couldn't remember what it was called, but he was telling a story about, as all these sports, he is failing everything until he picked up
Yep.
shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you go through all the things he's talking about is, the mind attitude of what you're doing. And he's
Mm-hmm.
telling one story that kind of relates here is shooting in the snow.
Yep.
He'd never shot in the snow before. And then the guys from the Swiss guys, whatever, they shoot snow all the time. All of a
Yep.
sudden he's seen it and he shot. It's like, I can't see the target because so then when he'd get ready, he figured out that, hey, there's little gaps. When the gaps are there, you shoot and it goes away. And he'd
Mm-hmm.
never shot one before. So then his mind was, it could have easily went, well, I can't do this. No, it's what
Mm-hmm.
his mind went to, I'm the best shooter in the snow there is.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up winning.
Yeah,
so
I know.
So it's just all minds, just getting that attitude. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I know how to do this. I'm the best at this, and convince yourself, and it works.
Sometimes it's hard to get into that mindset though. I know like me for one, I can get stuck in my head and I can get in a rut. And so it's very, very challenging to like talk positive to yourself and like say, "Oh, I can do this. I can do this." And then you there like at least for me there have been times where I didn't shoot as I wanted to even though I kept telling myself, "Oh, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this." And it can be very challenging to stay positive even when you're not achieving what you want when you want, but that's even the more reason to just stick it out and keep on going. And I've definitely learned that now after that I've taken a break for a couple months. Like when I graduated from college, I was a bit frustrated. Like we had a really challenging coach a couple years at school who like my confidence dropped. I wanted to quit before I started my senior year, but I stuck with it. And when I graduated, like I was applying for a job, like my first big girl job, and I knew that when I did finish school, I wanted to take a break because I wasn't where I wanted to be at the time. I wanted to focus on other things, but now I'm like, okay, I really miss everything about archery. I miss shooting, I miss competing, I miss my teammates. And now I'm starting to realize that like a break was nice, but now I should really get back into it.
Yeah, that's something I just come back from Tennessee, and I
Hmm.
listen to Audible books on the way back, and I listen to that one, and then I listen to uh, Big Magic, and in there she was talking about a lot of things that go on with that, and
Hmm.
she was telling one story where she woke up one morning and just had this great story in her mind,
Hmm.
and then she went and did other things, and then come back, and then the story was gone. And
Yeah.
then she met this other lady one time, and they met, and she kind of hold her house and kissed her. Next thing you know, few years later, months later, whatever it was, she comes like, I got a book I'm working on, and they met, and so she told what her story was, and said that's exactly my same story. The story was there, wanted to be written, but she
Yeah.
didn't do it, so the other lady did it, and she's
Yeah.
real happy because it was the same thing, and it's the same thing we can do, with here. It's just all that mindset, and don't get upset if something goes wrong, learn
Yeah.
from it.
Hmm.
So what was some of the things that you did when you to get over some of those challenging parts that you had?
I relied very heavily on my teammates and my family. Like there were so many phone calls where I was just beaten, I was broken down, I was upset, and they did nothing but cheer me up and like boost my confidence. Like my roommates, they were also on the archery team and I am so incredibly grateful for them. They never once told me to stop. They said, keep going. You can do it. I've seen you do it. You've done it before. You're going to do it again. We are here for you. Keep on going. And if I didn't have them, then I would have quit a long time ago.
Yeah, and then you'd have regretted it.
Hmm. But my teammates were like family. I miss them every single day.
I know one of the books I was listening to on the way back, they talked about This one guy was being, being writers and trying
Mhm.
to write, where she was talking about being writers, and she was telling this story that this guy, same age as the writer, they're in there signing books, and he says, I just can't get it. I'm just
Mhm.
struggling. I'm the same as you. I write all the time, and as everybody says, well, just stick with it.
Mhm.
And this author said, quit, go do something else.
Mhm.
And a year or two, if you still miss it, come back. And it's
Mhm.
amazing that sometimes taking that little break, you know, it allows you to reset everything, and you come
Mhm.
back. If you got a bad habit, you take a break, you come back, and you know what? You're trying to relearn everything. So you relearn what you're supposed to do and not the bad habits you developed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's the
sometimes
point.
taking a break is good, but
Mhm.
you got to realize that, if you'd have took a break while you was still in college, break might have been permanent break, or a really long
Yep.
break. And
Yeah,
so
I took out my bow a couple hours ago and I was looking at it. I was like, oh, I was getting a little teary eyed. I was like, I really missed this. I think I'm gonna start back up.
yeah, that's well, you finished one task, and now, starting a new career, teaching,
Yeah.
and now then there, and then now that you get back into that role, pick up your bow back again and start shooting, and maybe you get a program started at your school.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I could potentially look into, but I mean, I would love to start like I used to teach archery at a summer camp and I loved it, but when I was teaching it, I couldn't shoot myself and compete as much, and that's the only thing I'm worried about. Like traveling was my fun. Like that is what I loved most about archery. And because I'm a teacher, I can't really like I have time off, but it's like I'm told when I can have time off, like February break, winter vacation, so I can't pick and choose, so I can't travel to all the big tournaments like I would
Right.
want to, which does make me a bit sad, but I'm thinking about getting back into the local shoots at least and having just a little taste
Well,
of it.
and then if you get the school going with the archers there, you got to travel to the meets with them because you're their
That is
coach.
true.
So there you go.
That's
You get to
true.
travel. And then they're competing at that level, and you go compete at a different level.
Yeah, I'll have to look farther into that, see what I can
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of kids. You get it started. I know there's some others I've talked to that there really was no archery in their area.
Mhm.
And they started with just a little bit of group, and now it's just huge. Just keep
Yeah.
growing and growing and growing. And, if you have some archery there, maybe the school will let you set up some place to set up, a target or two,
Yeah.
you know,
I'll have to
get
look
one of
into
the
that.
big blocks or four of the little blocks and put them
Yeah.
together, and it just, you might start off with two or three kids, and next thing you know, and two, three more kids, and next thing you know, you have to get an assistant because you got so many kids.
It's definitely something to look into.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun teaching. I know I became an archery coach in '95, and I've taught lots and lots of people how to shoot, and it's always nice when you take somebody that's 20 yards, it's got a group, 5 6
Mhm.
inch group is all they can do, and you spend 45 minutes an hour with them, and you're got 1 or 2 inch groups, and
Yeah.
or they'll send you a picture of three arrows touching, and yeah, it's like that's always the thing too when you see that, and all of a sudden you get
Yeah.
something that clicks with them, and you try to tell them something, and then all of a sudden he says, "Oh, that's what you've been trying to tell me for the last 10 minutes." You know?
It's definitely rewarding.
Yeah. And then the ones I like, there's a few times when guys coming in to store, because I worked at Bass Pro and Cabela's both,
Mhm.
and then I had my own store before that, but
Yeah.
the guy come in and wanted to shoot, and so he's looking at a bow and asked his wife, it's like, "You want to shoot?" Nah. Sure. Just one shot. Just take one
Mhm.
shot. Oh, okay. After that one shot, it's like, "Can I shoot another one?"
Yeah,
Well, of
it's
course you can.
addicting.
Can I shoot another one? Yeah, of course you can. Let's just keep shooting and shooting. And next thing you know, she's into it. And,
Mhm.
is a lot of those stories like that. And it's normally the guy coming in and we get the lady into it. Once in a while, you
Mhm.
have the lady coming in and the guy's not into it. But
Yeah.
that normally doesn't work because he's not going to listen, so he never gets good. Yeah, I had a time to come in, and the guy was already had a bow shooting, and she wanted a bow with, so we got her set up a compound bow. I
Yep.
taught her how to shoot, and she's shooting really good. They come back, oh, a few weeks, month later, something like that, and she says, yeah, he keeps trying to tell me to do something. It's no, I got Roy sitting on my shoulder telling me what to do. She picks what part of the X-ray to put her arrow in, and it makes him mad because she's out shooting him every day. She's out shooting
Yeah.
him. And, it's like that's cool, when you teach a process to somebody and then they take it and learn it and just keep
Mhm.
going through their mind. It's like every time, she'd go through the process, and if she didn't remember what's going on, it's like, it's like I was sitting on her shoulder telling her what to do, just over and over and over. And you
Yeah.
know, that gives you the kind of a good feeling that you've taught
Yeah.
somebody, and they're using what you said to shoot
Mhm.
very good. When you can pick which part of the X ring to put your arrow, that's that's shooting pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's a compound too, so that's a
Yeah.
little bit different. You shoot the recurve, you shoot Olympic style, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Now that looked like the picture because you anchor a little differently. You anchor down by your jaw as
Yep.
opposed to up higher.
Mhm.
And I've never really thought about it, but why do you anchor down low at your jaw instead of up a little bit higher?
It makes the arrow go higher. So like when like barebow shooters, if you've ever watched them shoot, they anchor up here and it helps them aim because they don't have a sight. But you don't really have to do that with recurve, and then you can still get in your alignment just as easily as up here. And then, like when with those long distances, that little inch or so that you move your hand down, it helps your arrow a long ways downrange.
Yeah, because you're anchored a little bit lower,
Yeah.
so that you're down lower, and then it puts
Hmm.
because you have sights on them, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So now you're further down from your sight, so then it raises it up so you can shoot longer distance. Yeah. First time I heard some talking about string walking, I was like,
Hmm.
huh? What is
I don't know
that?
how they do it. Like I would get
I-
confused and end up going the wrong way. And
Well, and then I actually had somebody interviewed that does it, and then I
hmm.
understood it. But then I went out and watched Jake Kaminsky.
Yep.
He talks about this teaching it, and it's like he's got a lot of good information on recurve stuff because I'm more of a
Yeah.
compound than recurve.
Yeah.
I don't teach a lot of recurves and longbows. And he's talking about it's like, oh, okay. So you got your close shot, you're down further on your string, so it moves your arrow up. And then as you move your hand up and down, it depends on the distance is how, and they're counting wraps to go
Yeah.
down. It's like, okay, I need 3 wraps down. I need 4 wraps down. I'm like, this
I
is too
couldn't keep
much.
track of it.
I, I'm 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 gonna put pins on it. If I'm gonna go through that, I'm gonna put pins on it. Yeah, and I just shoot my recurve instinctively. I just look at where I want it to go and draw
Yeah.
back and shoot. I
Yeah.
don't reference off the arrow. I don't reference off the anything else. I just have my anchor point and go. And I
Yeah.
figured, my mentality, because I started in the '60s. So there was really not much options out there. Recurve,
Mhm.
longbow, wood arrows, or fiberglass arrows. That was kind of
Mhm.
pretty much about it. And you could fletch it with feathers or feathers.
Mhm.
You know, so I still use feathers. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I just that's what I grew up and I like them. And the only problem is if you're in the rain, but I don't like hunting
Mhm.
in the rain
They
anyway.
get ruined. Mhm.
And when they dry out, steam them, they come right back. I always took in my quiver, and then I'd hang it like if it was raining, I'd hang it up in the tree, and then my
Yeah.
arrow I have on, you might get wet, and then I'd just switch it out for a dry one.
Mhm.
Um, now if you're got a side quiver, they're all getting wet.
Yep.
But I've seen feathers with pieces missing in it and still fly perfectly straight.
Mm.
I've seen vanes with a piece missing out of them or just
Yeah.
bent, and they don't fly very good at all. They're
No,
just
they do not.
always they make all kinds of noises. And
Yeah.
yeah, I had one of mine one time that there was a big chunk out of it,
Mhm.
and I was still hitting X's with it.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. Now, if I'm shooting maybe, you know, 40, 60, 80, 100 yards, it probably would make a difference. But
Yeah.
with feathers, they drop a little quicker, the
Yeah.
longer range, a little more
They
drag.
drag.
Yeah, a
Hmm.
little more drag, but they help stabilize the arrows a little bit better, especially when we put broadheads on them.
Mm.
So yeah, it's interesting how the setup. Now, do you use carbon arrows, wood arrows, or what are you using for
Yep.
arrows?
I use carbon. They're X10, so it's like aluminum coated in carbon. And
Okay.
then I use spider vanes. And I usually keep those for both indoor and outdoor. They definitely fly better outdoors, and then I just stuck with them indoors, and I've never had a problem with them.
Yeah, I know some will have different arrows indoor, different arrows outdoor, different
Hmm.
setups, and it's like did something that works outdoors because work indoors just fine, and just keep that way. You
Yeah.
don't have to worry about okay, which arrows you grab the wrong arrows, and then say you're going and you grab your arrows and you're thinking you're grabbing the outdoor arrows and you got
Yeah.
indoor arrows, and now they don't fly very good outdoors, and
It's
yeah,
expensive too, and I was like, they work just fine. I'm gonna stick with my same dozen and call it good, and it served me well.
yeah, yeah. That's I don't like doing a lot of changing. I've got a couple bows, so
Hmm.
I have one for hunting and one for target, and I have
Yeah.
another one I haven't even bothered setting up yet. I got a good deal on it when I worked at Cabela's, and
Yeah.
I need to make a new string for it, and then I had some other stuff I had to repair, and one of
Hmm.
those returns that, our store we got pallets full of returns in, and we'd go
Mm.
through them all, and like you might get four bows of the same brand, everything the same. One might
Hmm.
have a string bad, one might have something else bad, and we'd take all the good parts, put them over
Yeah.
here, make a bow, and stick it on a used bow rack, and then sell them.
Yeah.
Some needed strings, some needed all kinds of other stuff, and there's that was just how we did them. And I got a bow. It was a bear. It was a $900 just plain bear. It was in the snow camo. I forget
Hmm.
which I forget which model it was.
Hmm.
I made a new string for it, and the string stop was stripped out. I forget what I was wrong with it, but I fixed that, and it's all ready to go. I haven't put any sights on it or rest on it or nothing.
Yeah.
It's just there. But
Yeah.
I have that as the backup. But I have one for hunting, one for target,
Yeah.
and a setup. I have that broadheads don't fly like my field tips, but I don't care. The bow's set up to shoot broadheads, and I just know if I shoot with it field tips, they don't hit where I'm aiming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of stuff we can do in there.
Yeah.
Now,
It's
when
crazy
you're
how the oh what?
oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's crazy how the littlest changes can have the biggest effects on your equipment.
Oh yeah, yeah, just a little bit. So when you're practicing, what was a normal session look like? You know, like how many arrows, distances, different things that
Hmm.
you would do.
Indoors, like we're shooting 20 yards, 18 meters. I would go get my equipment. We would do like a 5 minute little stretch warm up. Usually I would start off blank bail at 20 yards. If I was having difficulties with something or I was working on a form change, I would pull up the target closer. So I would do a couple and then blank bail, and then I would shoot on a target face, whatever like competition would be the next, whether it's like a 40 centimeter, um, the blue and white NFAA targets, whatever it may be. A lot of the times we would do scoring rounds. We would compete against each other and we would try and get at least 100 arrows a day. I didn't always get that because I was tuckered out by the end of the day, but
Yeah.
because we would have practice in the afternoons and after school or student teaching all day, I was wiped. But we would try and shoot 100 arrows. We would do like team shoots, scoring ends, and then usually I would finish blank bail, cool down, and head on home.
Now that's quite a regimen, and I know that the blank bales can help on a lot of things.
Hmm.
Now, tell us about what you were working on when you're shooting at a blank bale.
There would be like something specific in my form, whether it be like expanding all the way or fixing my grip or changing like where I anchor. And whenever you change something in your form, it feels really, really awkward and uncomfortable. And
Yeah,
so to try and eliminate that, you take away a target so you don't have to worry about aiming. You don't have to worry about where your arrow's going. You pull up your bail close and you just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot until it becomes comfortable and that change becomes familiar. And then I would push the bail back, throw a target face on, and continue until until it felt comfortable and it felt natural again.
Now, have you ever did any shooting with your eyes closed?
Yes, I did a lot of that when I was going through my vision therapy. And I love shooting with my eyes closed. It's almost like a not quite a floating sensation, but you can just feel everything so much more, if that makes sense. Like you're not
Yep.
hyper focused on your form, but you're more focused on it, I guess. And I loved it. And if like whenever I was having a little bit of target panic or I was having issues with my clicker and expanding, shooting with my eyes closed helped a lot with that.
Yeah, the reason I ask is that I use that a lot of times when I'm teaching,
Hmm.
and especially when, when I used it a lot of times was, you know, looking at a new bow. And then one time I had this guy, I think I had 6 bows laying out on the archery range, trying to
Hmm.
figure out which one it went. It's like, oh, I don't know. So I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put a bow in your hand and you're going to shoot it because they're all the same draw lengths, they're all the same weight. So that,
Yeah.
fair comparison. Because if you have one shooting at 70, one 60, they're not going to feel the same.
Right.
So they're all the same weight, everything's all the same. And that way you can't, look at, well, okay, which I like this brand better than this brand.
Hmm.
Um, so I had to draw back, and you have to make sure that they're close to the backstop, they're not going to miss, and nobody else can get in front of them. But they draw back and shoot, eyes
Hmm.
closed. And then I take that bow and I give them another one. We get all set up because I'd have to load the arrow because can't do your eyes closed very well, and then
Right.
shoot that one. And then
Yeah.
I'd say, which one you like better and why?
Mm.
Because with your eyes closed, your mind can feel like you was talking about all the little nuances in it. You know,
Yeah.
how much did it vibrate in your hand? Did it sit in your hand? Did it tilt forward? Did it tilt back? Did it vibrate too much? Was the release smooth?
Hmm.
All that stuff on there. You can feel that. And then we'd take that one, okay, like that one, and then put the other one away, grab 2 more, same thing, next, and then grab 2 more, and
Hmm.
eventually there's your bow.
Yeah. There
A-
you
and then open your eyes. I know when I first learned back tension release, they
go.
had us reach close enough we could just bend at the hips, grab the arrow, and pull it out of the target. So
Hmm.
it wasn't much different, from the full draw. It wasn't very far away from the target. And we're
Hmm.
shooting with our eyes closed. So they taught us the whole technique to go through. And
Hmm.
finally, it's like, okay, now that it feels like it's supposed to. Open your eyes, your form goes away.
Yep.
And like,
It's crazy
what's
how
going
that
on?
works, isn't it?
And there's no target.
Yeah.
So you pull back and your eyes closed, open them up, goes away. And you finally do it to, okay, now I can just my eyes open. So now then, okay, now it feels good. You know, now put your sight on. It's like, because now you're seeing pins, and
Yeah.
then put a target on there and finally go through there. But, that's something that I learned, and I used that same technique later on when I would be coaching and
Hmm.
teaching archers. And, that's something that you can do, with your eyes, touch your nose. You can touch your nose, your eyes open, close your eyes. You still know where your nose is.
Hmm.
You can still touch it, even though your eyes are closed. And it's amazing how that works. And I thought it's kind of interesting how you explain how you use it. And it's if you're all by yourself,
Hmm.
make sure nobody can walk in front of you because you can't see them.
Hmm.
I don't recommend doing it unless you have somebody there as a spotter for you.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
um, you know, it's because it's not safe. You don't want to try and do it at 20 yards,
Yeah. Mm-mm.
just
Nope.
because
5 yards, not even.
yeah, no, you're more about 5 feet or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if your bow is really out of tune, you might be bending some arrows.
Yeah.
So that's where you want to make sure your bow is tuned fairly well, so it leaves
Hmm.
fairly straight. And I don't know. Do you ever use paper to help you tune your bow or?
No, not usually. We just do a lot of walkbacks are the most valuable for tuning to get that line.
Yeah, I had a paper tuner, I think, at the store, but when I had the store, but I never used it.
Yeah.
It it, it doesn't do as good as what people think it does.
Mm.
When I first got in, I was like, I'm shooting through there, trying to adjust the rest, trying to adjust everything, and I'm getting a tear here, tear there, and
Hmm.
And most was probably just the fact that I had a death grip on the bow because it's before I
Yeah.
learned anything. You
Yep.
know, that'll make a big difference.
Yeah.
You know,
I used to
you
have like a wicked death grip, and for the longest time my coach made me shoot like this, so I couldn't even put any fingers on a bow, and eventually I learned to loosen it up a
relax.
bit. But
Yeah,
yeah, it can throw your arrows off, especially long distance.
yeah, and it's just all just matter in that grip and everything just works together so much. And I know with my 20 years of martial arts, you learn some of those techniques.
Hmm.
Yeah, been talking. I need a little drink of water here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much that we can learn from archery that it goes into other aspects, just body mechanics,
Mm,
keeping that
mhm.
coordination and just being able to tune stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get hit the cough button once in a while.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, it's really cool. So what do you when you get back into it, kind of what we kind of talked about some of your options, but what are
Mhm.
you thinking when you get back into it? Where are you going to go from there?
Um, Probably this summer I'll just shoot in the yard a little bit, get back into the swing of things. I'm probably gonna have to lower the poundage on my bow because I doubt I'll be able to pull it back because it's been almost a year now I think about it. But I'll probably just do that for a while. There's a local archery shop in town near where I work now, so I they have league nights. So I might sign up for that and then eventually do like the New Hampshire state shoots and that kind of stuff later on again. But
That would be fun.
feels weird not belonging to like a certain team because I was like in Joad for the longest time, and then I was with Mount Marty for the longest time, and now I'm kind of flying solo. So I'm like, oh, it'll be a little bit interesting, but
Yeah, when you've been part of a team for so long, then to be on yourself is like, uh, where's my teammates?
I know it's lonely.
Yeah, yeah, it can be different, but then you just have to look at, okay, what are you trying to get out of it,
Yeah.
and go from there. And it's like, okay, right now, I just want to do this,
Hmm.
and you just dive in and do that, and then like you started one way and it kind of evolved, and
Yeah.
now with working full time, that kind of puts a damper on things,
Yeah.
but it just changes. Not really damper, it just changes what you're going for.
Yeah.
So what would you kind of say to somebody that is um, looking at getting into archery that's never shot a bow before? Um, how would you help them get started, and what kind of questions would you ask them?
I would just say, what, or ask them, what are you looking to do? And I would just throw them in. Go ahead, try it. There's a lot of great, at least in the Midwest, I know there's a lot of great try archery programs. There's not a ton in the Northeast, but just say, go ahead, try it, see how it feels, see how you like it, throw a couple arrows downrange and go from there.
Yeah, just if you go to an archery shop, they're gonna have bows that you can try.
Hmm.
They may not have ones that you can like rent and go shoot for a while.
Yeah.
That most of them don't have a lot of those, but if you're looking at buying one, go to the shop and let
Hmm.
them get you outfitted. And one of the things that I always, ask somebody that's thinking about it is like, what do you want to do with it?
Hmm.
Are you just want to fling arrows in your backyard with your friends and your family or
Hmm.
whatever? You just want to fling some arrows and you don't, as long as you hit the target, you don't care, how good you are. That'll
Yeah.
soon change. But so then what do you want to do? And then what type of archery, you just want to shoot. And like when Hunger Games come out, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who wanted to pick up the recurve,
Yeah.
and the lady that played Katniss, you could tell that she was trained by an Olympic archer.
Yep.
And so those of us another thing about archery is like, okay, She knows what she's doing. She was taught by a good archer because she
Mm-hmm.
didn't naturally have that, I don't think, until the show.
Mm-hmm.
But she picked it up and learned a skill that probably keep her around for a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
she was actually pretty good at it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that never really showed, how well she actually did shoot, but you could see the form was there.
Mm-hmm.
And people see that, and then kids will watch or adults will watch it, and it's like, oh, that looks like fun. And then
Mm-hmm.
come in, and now you set them up with a recurve and
Yeah.
your arrows, and or you have somebody comes in and they say, well, I want to hunt. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care about shooting target. I just want to hunt. I need
Mm-hmm.
to get some meat. There
Mm-hmm.
was one guy that joined the archery club, and his son had been having trouble, and they finally figured out it's all the hormones and stuff they put in beef. So he
Oh,
was going to start hunting to get venison, get
yeah.
the deer meat for his son to eat. So that was what he was going. He wanted to hunt to provide food for his family.
Yeah.
His son couldn't have that because all the stuff, the chemicals they put in it. And so he wanted to hunt. So now then somebody like that is going to be completely different. We're going to set them up with a hunting setup
Mm-hmm.
teach them differently. This form's the same.
Yep.
If you're shooting a compound, the form's the same no matter what you're shooting. If you're shooting a recurve or longbow, the form's close to being the same.
Pretty similar, yeah.
Good. Yeah, you're still using your back muscles. You're still using
Mm-hmm.
fingers instead of a release. Most time. I did have one guy come in one time, had a recurve, use a release on it. Like, okay,
Okay.
he just wanted a release because there's something about pulling the string that he had trouble with. So put a release on it. It
Yeah.
didn't matter. He wasn't in a competition where you had to have it. He just wanted to
Yeah.
shoot the bow. So
Interesting.
yeah, there's no
Hmm.
reason why you can't put a loop on there and put and use a release.
Hmm.
Other
Never heard of
than
that.
in your competitions, they're not going to let you.
Yeah.
But so you set them up by that, and that's one of the things that I ask. And one of the things that I asked, archers, when I did this all the time, for what's your dominant eye?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had an eye doctor would say, well, let's check your dominant eye. It's right. Like, well, let's check, make sure. I probably check it 4 or 5 times a day as I'm showing people how to check which is their dominant eye. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, it's right. See? Yeah, okay, it's right.
Your
And I,
your eye dominance can change though sometimes. Like mine switched a few times. So I've heard a lot of coaches say shoot with your dominant hand because for some people their eye dominance can change.
yeah, well, on my case, I'm still right eye dominant, but my
Hmm.
left eye is the clear eye.
Yeah.
So I'd be
I
better to
turn to the
shoot
left eye
left-handed,
now.
but all my bows are right-handed. I've been
Yeah.
shooting for right hand for a long time. I've
Yeah.
shot bows left-handed and shot just fine. The technique's just a little different, different feel. The same
Yeah.
exact technique. Do the same thing with right or left-handed. And
Yeah. When I first started, I was left eye dominant, but I'm right-handed. And so like the very first time I shot a bow, I shot left-handed and I could not hit the target to save my life. It felt so awkward. I was all over the place. So I ended up switching to right-handed, even though I'm left eye dominant and it worked out better in my case, but I know everyone's different too.
yeah, everyone's different. I know well, you're right-handed, you're right-handed, but you're left eye dominant, and that's not
Mhm.
unusual. That
Mhm.
happens a lot.
Yeah.
I was like to a story when I was at Bass Pro, I had this set of twins come in. Identical twins. One was right-handed, the other was left-handed. The right-hander was left eye dominant, left-hander was right eye dominant.
That's funny.
Yeah, I was like, okay, here both of them are opposite dominant eyes, their dominant hand. It's like, so you just check, and sometimes you have to do not just exactly, what basically the book says, shoot your
Mhm.
dominant eye. Sometimes you can't. There could be a
Mhm.
physical reason why you can't. Or in your case, it just wasn't working physically to do it with your
Mhm.
non-dominant eye. So you switched. Normally, we all teach a little bit of, bending your arm a little bit. Because you're locking that arm out, it just kind of floats around. Well, I
Mhm.
had a guy come in and I was teaching, he had MS. So you couldn't bend the arm. You had to lock it out. So
Mhm.
we just have to make, adjustments to accommodate that arm being locked out. And, you just kind of work with them. If you have one arm
Mhm.
or you're missing from, the part of the wrist back or out or have no arms, you can still
Mhm.
shoot a bow.
Yeah.
And, I've met Matt Stutzman a couple of times,
Mhm.
and he goes by the armless archer,
Yep.
because his arms are only, maybe 3 or 4 inches long. He's got little stubs right there. He's born with no arms, and he
Mhm.
shoots a compound bow
Yeah,
very
he's an
well.
amazing shooter.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd seen his videos before I met him the first time, and then I met him the first time and talked to him, and then I met him
Mhm.
again last year. He comes to in Nebraska. They have the Missouri Valley Outdoor Expo every summer,
Mhm.
and 2 years ago and last year I volunteered to help, and I met
Mhm.
him and talked to him, and one of these days we're going to get him on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that'd be great.
uh, we just haven't worked out the time, because he's kind of busy. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll get him on one of these days and talk to him. And last year when we was up there, this lady come through, um, right-handed, but she was missing, basically just past the wrist, so it just
Mhm.
had a little nub there. And so Christy, the lady that runs the outdoor program for, in archery for Nebraska Game and Parks,
Mhm.
she went over to the 3D area because I was doing what they call aerial archery, just take discs and throw them, you shoot at them with little,
Oh,
uh,
yep.
balls on the end of them. And she
Mhm.
took them over there, and they put her arm guard on and then strapped another one around the bow, and they had her shooting a bow within just a few minutes. But no hand to hold the bow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and then
It's
they
great
got
though.
got her hooked up with Matt, and then they're going to go through and get her something set up because he's got
Oh,
access
great.
to a lot of people that can help with that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
more than what we can. But we just made it work, and there we go. Now we have another archer.
Yeah, it's great.
So yeah, there's no, if you want to shoot a bow, there's no reason you can't.
Mhm.
If they're willing to do it, there's a way we can get it set up to make you do it.
Mhm.
I always thought it'd be kind of fun to have um, somebody that couldn't see shoot a bow.
Yes, there's a young man who shot Vegas I've seen a couple times, and he shoots, and it's absolutely amazing to watch him. It's crazy. I'm not sure what
Yeah,
his name was. I can't remember his name, but I know, like, I've seen him on Instagram and Facebook and on the Vegas shoot page, but like I was able to watch him shoot, and it's just he shoots like we do. He's just doing his thing, and it's amazing to watch.
now can he see it all, or
I don't believe so, no.
so they
Um,
put a little tone on the target so he knows where it's at, or
there was like this tripod looking thing where he would rest his hand so it would be in the same spot every time. And then
right?
like I believe someone would tell him where his arrows are or whatnot, and he would just make the adjustments on his sight just like we would. And like it was like a almost like an anchor point for his hand, so he was able to hold
Yeah,
in the same spot, and it was amazing to watch.
yeah, that'd be interesting, how to do that. You can't
Yeah.
see, but you can still shoot, and there's no reason why, if you want to pick up archery, get a hold of us. Be
Mhm.
glad to help you out. And if you have a
Yeah.
physical problem, it's like, well, we can connect you with somebody that can help you solve your problem. If,
Mhm.
if it's something that we can do, if there's something we need somebody that's specialized equipment, hey, we got people in the community that can help you out. So
Yeah.
definitely get a hold of us. And so yeah, it's been great talking with you. I know we've got a
Yeah.
lot of different subjects we talked about, and you know anything you want to talk about before we head out of here today?
No, I'm all set. Thank you for having
Yeah,
me. I really appreciate it. I was
yeah,
kind of
it's it.
surprised. I was like, "Oh, he wants to talk to me? That's crazy."
Well, every archer has their own story.
Yeah.
Whether you've been shooting for no days or you've been shooting your whole life, and whether
Mhm.
you're just a beginner or semi-pro, professional, Olympic archer, it's all interesting. And
Yeah.
I'm not real picky who comes on as long as we start talking about archery,
Yeah.
because that's what it's for. We're going to learn something from every archer out there,
Yeah.
and you know, just kind of a plug for more people getting on here. It's like, hey, if you want to talk about archery, here's a place we can talk about archery and whatever you want, and if there's something you want to promote, talk about. Hey, it's all up to you. This is I just host it. It's your show.
No.
It's all about what you want to talk about, what you want to do, and it's I have a lot of fun talking with archers all over the world,
Yeah,
and
this was really
I'd have
fun.
never talked to them if I hadn't had this podcast.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, find out it's kind of universal all over the world, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. I know
Mhm.
I enjoyed talking with you, and hopefully you enjoyed it as well. And
Yes, thank you.
yeah, just let everybody know where we can listen to this and watch it.
Yeah.
Um, we go live in Arch Talk 101 Facebook group when we record them, so they get it right away. And then the video is also posted out to my YouTube channel. Learn to fix it yourself. I have all kinds of other videos out there about a whole bunch of other stuff, but not
Yeah.
just archery. And that comes out twice a week on Tuesdays and Saturdays, the day after the podcast comes out. The
Hmm.
podcast come out, the audio part of it comes out on Spotify as well as like Apple Podcast. I upload to
Hmm.
Spotify and it downloads it to a lot of places. You can also go out to Audible
Oh,
and go on podcasts, and you can connect into Arch Talk 101 and it'll play there. No cost to that. You just get out to Audible and go
yeah.
there. And I've listened to some podcasts there. It's kind of neat because you can start at the first one. They'll just keep playing. When one's done, to
Yeah.
start the next one, start the next one. And this one, if you're interested, is podcast number 173.
Okay.
So it'll come out here in another week before it comes out.
Okay.
So it's just listen to it and watch it. And if you want to get a hold of me, if you have questions, get a hold of me. And I know Lindsay, if there had any question, get a hold of you. If somebody want to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
Either Facebook or Instagram. I'm usually active on both.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put a link to your Facebook
Yeah.
profile in here so they can find you there, and then we could. And if you want to send me your Instagram link, I'll add that to it
Yeah.
as well and get a
Okay.
hold of you. And, you can always get a hold of me. There's all kinds
Yeah.
of places to get a hold of me. So yeah, I'll put that information in there. So if they're
Yeah.
interested in something, or if they live in your area and want to talk about archery, and
Yeah.
maybe they got some kids that want to get started into it, and
Hmm.
maybe you can get it started in your school.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
That
cool.
that'd be cool. Yeah, that would be cool to get it started in your school and get some more kids into archery. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Well, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank
Uh,
you for having me.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And my name is Rory Canterbury. I've been your host today on Arch Talk 101 with Lindsay, and we're gonna see you on the next one.
Thank you.